Traveling down that cold town road, listen to my rubber tires whine. Goodbye, Buckeye, white sycamore, I'm leaving you behind.
Hey everyone, just a few quick tips on the outdoors. I'd like to remind you before we get started that these are instructional videos. They're basic videos for someone who's new to the woods, so bear that in mind. And if you heard different somewhere else, or you know a different way of doing things, remember that's okay. Any hunter will tell you there's a lot of different ways to do things, and this is just my way, and I want to share it with you. So today I want to talk about buck rubs and rub lines. Bucks rub for a number of reasons, but one of the biggest reasons is to mark their territory. This is a pretty classic buck rub. It's on a relatively small sapling here, and you can see where he's horned it up all over the bark there and peeled a bunch of the bark away. The purpose of today's video is to talk about identifying buck rubs and what they mean and establishing a rub line. So we'll start here. We're going to move through the strip of hardwoods here and see if we can't pick out the rubs and figure out the corridor that buck's using to move from his bedding area to his feeding area. Now, this is a very similar rub to the rub I just showed you. Similar girth in the sapling, similar height. Now the height of the rub is important because typically larger bucks will rub higher up on the tree. Now big bucks will rub low down and high up as well, but the higher the rub, the better chance that you're looking at a good sized animal. Now you can see the shavings on the ground here where the bucks rub the bark off the tree, and that's real important because that tells you how fresh the rub is. Okay, so this is a decent sized rub. It's not the freshest rub, and he hasn't worked it too hard to where you'll see the white just of the sapwood, just the brown of the inside of the bark there. But the direction of the rub is another thing to pay attention to. This tree is horned up, as we call it, on the right side and not on the left side. So from that we can sort of infer that this buck typically is moving in this direction when he hits this tree. It's uncommon for bucks to walk around a tree and horn the other side up and keep going. They got a lot to do in their day and they're moving through. He hits this tree and he moves on to the next one. So when you're establishing a rub line, look at what side the tree is rubbed up on and see if you can find consistent rubs in that direction, and that'll act like a dotted line. It'll show you where that buck's going and where he's coming from. Okay, so one of the things I forgot to mention to you earlier is that you don't normally want to touch rubs. You leave your scent on it from your hands. Usually when you're scouting for rubs, you want to stay, just observe them and keep moving. You don't want to leave a lot of your scent around the area, but for the purpose of this video, I've cleared these leaves so I can show you. Another indication of the size of the buck is when they rub low down on a tree like this, they're rubbing with the inside of their antlers, right by the brow tines. So if you want to get an idea of how big this buck is, you can see here when he horned up the base of this tree, his main beams, the parts of his antlers that come out in front of him here, have actually dug the dirt away and horned up these roots a little bit. So if you imagine him with his rack rubbing the sides of the tree, look around look at trees on the back side, trees that are up close to it, look in the dirt for deeper scratches from the main beams, and that's an indication that you might be looking at a pretty big buck's rub. This is not the best example of a signpost, but we have things we call signpost rubs. They're rubs where bucks spend more time than others. A lot of rubs they just move through, rub it a few times and go on about their business, but this buck spent a little more time on this tree for one reason or another, and so a lot of times this is a good place to hang a stand. Alright folks, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this, but I wanted to point it out to you. This is an old rub. It's a rub from either last year or early in the season, and it hasn't been freshened up in a while. You can see the spalting or the rotting in the wood where it used to be clean and white, and it's now starting to fade to a dull gray. This buck either didn't make it through last season or he got spooked off the spot for whatever reason, but this is an old rub. Don't bother hunting this one. Just as a recap, folks, when you find rubs, don't touch them. Try not to leave your scent around them. You don't want to spook that buck off. When you do find that rub, take note of the girth, the height, and the direction of the rub, and try to establish a pattern to figure out where that buck is going and where he's coming from. You can do that by thinking about the bedding area and the feeding area. Try to develop that corridor. And if you choose to hunt that rub line, remember not to hang your stand too close to it. You want to be within shooting range, but you don't want to be right on top of the corridor or the rubs. So bear that in mind, and I hope that this video was helpful. Like and subscribe, and I look forward to doing more videos for you in the future. Thanks for watching.